You are about to listen to the Neverdaily podcast.
This is the biggest thing since the Zapruder film.
So many questions.
I don't have any answers.
But please don't stop listening
To the Neverdaily podcast.
Welcome to the Neverdaily. Welcome.
We're off to the race.
I heard the beep was really delayed. So, welcome to the Neverdaily podcast, a show that is like the backup astronaut who has to stay by the phone. A show like the crappy waiter who doesn't make good tips but happily gets to split the evening's income. Like the Huggies employee who tests the scent lock on the newest diaper innovations. Like the really good article stuck between two magazine pages. We're like the Chalice of the Void card in the Magic the Gathering decks. We're like the guy that's right behind Leroy Jenkins. I'm not your host. Yeah, I am actually the operator, and this is my chunky Kentin Chentis Ching Chong China Kent. I had to finish it because
China Kent. We are like none of those things.
we are. We really are like the good article stuck between two magazine pages.
And I think that was the longest we've went without talking. The period between when we last recorded and now.
Yeah, has it been a solid week?
Something like
Solid
that. I don't know. A lot's happened here.
I went in the mountains. We'll get in
cesspool.
And I am in depression.
Yeah, Jess.
And Jess is in a downward spiral of depression. And
Hey, Jess, my question for you on this was, I was actually thinking about this like 3.5 days ago. I was like, were you taking a mental vacation from this, or was it just kind of hand wringing and like, okay, this is, you just like, did you feel like you were still we were on the helicopter? We'll come back to get you, Jess. Don't worry, the boat should stay afloat. Is that how?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Darn it. I was hoping you'd take like kind of a mental vacation.
we come back and she's on a life raft that's half empty and there's sharks circling.
I have blisters all over.
She's sunburned on her nose and forehead. It's peeling. We're both fat.
Well, that's true.
We have ice cream in our beard.
Hey, Jess, what's going on?
I've got bed bugs.
I've got head bugs, which is the name of a girl in high school that we all knew. Hey, do you guys get the reference when I said we're like the Chalice of the Void card in the Magic the Gathering deck? So,
nope.
Chalice of the Void is like the filler card that you like. There's a billion of them. There's so many.
But I like in Pokemon where there's all those flamer cards.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Actually,
I don't either.
Yeah.
I just know my daughter has a shitload of Pokemon cards, and she has a bunch of those that have a symbol on them, and they seem like the ones that the kids don't care about.
Yeah, it'd be that. It was like back in the day when you got Garbage Pail Kids and everybody got. My mind just went absolutely blank on all the names of the Garbage Pail Kids. But in contrast to the Chalice of the Void card, do you know what is the most expensive card?
From Dungeons and Dragons?
No, from Magic the Gathering.
It's the same thing.
Not really. Dungeons and Dragons is a different game. Oh. Nope. There's a Lord of the Rings card.
Oh,
No. Let me tell you. So,
no, that was excitement.
oh, okay. All right. So 2023 Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, the One Ring card. There's only one. There's only one of this card. It's called the One Ring. And one guy got it. And there's video of him. He doesn't say anything. I don't think he says anything in the video, but he's showing the camera the card, and his hand is shaking so bad. And guess what happened to the card?
It got
Guess what
stolen.
happened? No, even weirder.
He threw it into a volcano.
No, Post Malone saw the video and bought it from him for $2 million.
What? It's a piece of little paper.
I know.
We're not even talking about like an ancient paper that has like historic value. It was made in like, when was it? What year was it made?
Well, 2023 was when it was found this year. Well, 2023, if you're listening to this in 2062, 2023. Oh, I hope we're not doing this in 2062.
Oh, I'll be dead for at least 30 years if everything goes to plan.
So that's an interesting thing. That's kind of why I said that. Or do you get the reference when I said like the guy that is right behind Leroy Jenkins?
Yes, I got it. Yeah, there was the World of Warcraft video, and I think that video came out in around 1991.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Leroy Jenkins. It's very timely reference that you made.
Yeah. But imagine like, because there's that reflex, you're like outside of the place where you and your online nerd friends are going to fight. And you're all, okay, guys, now I'm going to breach the door. And once I breach the door, Jimmy J. John 55, 54, you go left. Quasar 6, you're going to go right. And then Butterbean Circle Band, you're going to come right behind me. And so, they were having that conversation when Leroy Jenkins went, Leroy Jenkins, and just stormed in before everybody was ready. And then there's that one guy that has the reflex. It's like, oh, we're doing this. And he goes in right behind Leroy and just gets smoked.
Yeah. I like the part where you described in detail a video from 15 years ago that everyone has seen 60 times.
I touched base with our demographic analytics the other day, and I was like, I might need to explain this one.
Yeah, because most of them have Alzheimer's. Well,
the majority of our listening population are 30 to 50-year-old women. So
that is like fine wine.
Yeah, I know.
That's the age.
Oh, 30 to 50. You're right. That's
the same demographic if I was single that I would be chasing.
I'd have to bump mine up a bit. I'd say 40 to 50-year-old women would be mine.
I'll go even further. I would say between 30 and 60.
Yeah.
For me.
So let me ask you, what is that? What is it? What is it? Why are we not like, I'll go 18 to 24? Like, why not?
We've talked about this before. For me, it's like, I really want that lady that's just got like the scar across her eye. She's missing half her ear. Like, I like give me the little bit of cellulite on the thighs. I want a woman that's seen some shit.
Yeah.
In every like military movie, that colonel that's got like the haggard scar across his eye and he's got that streak of gray hair and he's just rugged. I want the female version of that dude. And you don't get that with a 19-year-old. You don't get that with a 21-year-old. I want a woman that's got her purple of heart in life. Her purple heart and her combat action ribbon, not in a war zone, but down there in Illinois.
Yeah. I think for me, it's that everyone, everyone has self-conscious can be self-conscious, and male and female, manifest their, what we might say, universal self-conscious things of the gender differently. But for me, it's like, after, like you said, after the war, there's something beautiful about
scars.
Well, yeah, there's something beautiful about just femininity on its face without adding another face on top of it to cover the face that they don't think that they have.
Well, my wife, like, because we've had 2 kids, she has very, and on top of, before, I want to preface this, very, very, like, the mildest version of stretch marks that a pregnant woman can have. She made out like a bandit in terms of post-pregnancy stretch marks, but she, like, hates them. And I like, what are you talking about? I think it's sexy. I love it. It's like tiger stripes, like, you're a fucking woman. You carried our children. Like, I wouldn't take them away for nothing.
Well, you think about it, like, we're the perfect team, us and our war-worn women. It's like we both entered. It's like we're kind of our own Leroy Jenkins group. We decided when we got married that we're going to storm the Keebler factory. Now, we're going to go to the gate. We're going to go together, but I'm going to attack the giant tiger, the security tiger at the beginning front of at the place. And then you're going to get in there and and then she's like, what are you talking about? You don't think I can defend myself? And I'm like, no, you can. I'm not saying, but I'm going to take out the tiger. I'll take it. What, you don't think when you're not around, do you think I'm just like sit there crying because you're not like protecting me? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, like, I'll take out the tiger. And then she just Leroy Jenkins. She's like, bitch, watch this. And she runs toward the door and attacks the tiger and gets all scratched. And then we run through and we do our damage inside. And then we get out. And if you think about it, we are like that because they have little tiny cute tiger stripes and we have fudge stripes.
I was getting ready to say in the beginning there, you really made it sound like we were also heroic. But no, they got their stripes from creating human life forms, and we got ours from Domino's. So it's like not the same,
but it feels balanced somehow. It's mysterious.
It's like they're attacking a 6-story triple-headed beast with blood-soaked teeth, and we're in the corner fighting a pizza with a hot dog.
And also, when they're done fighting their beast and it beating the crap out of their body, the beast isn't dead. They now get to babysit it for 18 years.
Yeah.
They get to worry about it.
I don't know what that says. That should be where you come in.
Well, of course, naturally. I'm just saying, that whole mother's love thing. There's nothing else like it in the universe. And yeah, I do babysit my kids. Don't
call it babysitting. It's not baby. They're your children.
I love doing that.
Do you leave the house whenever it's like, does she call you? So she's like, I'm going to need you to come over and watch these kids for a few hours.
I don't know what it is. My wife has like a memory of a goldfish when it comes to me being a total idiot. She'll be like, okay, we're gonna go to 11:30. I'm like, okay, yell at me, and then 11:30 will roll around. And she'll be like, all right, we need to go, and I'll be like, where are we going? She's like, remember we're going to the, and she'll like explain the whole thing. Like she forgets that I'm just poking at her all the time. It's so fun. Also probably giving her an ulcer and more stretch marks. Little tiny bitty ones that were like from a tiny puppy tiger at the front of the Keebler factory. They're so cute. They're little, love. Love. Hey, love, if you're listening, they're little. Don't worry about it.
I love that stuff.
Me too.
It's like a Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. He's talking about like things that we consider flaws and our society considers flaws. And he says, that's the good stuff. Like, I think that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of timely references and depression, I think I'm in a rut myself because I've been on like a week-long binge of this is not a joke of 1930s Little Rascals episodes and Limp Bizkit.
Really?
I don't know what's happening, man.
Does it just feel really comfortable? Like, are you really enjoying like the nostalgia of that stuff right now?
Yeah, well, I've talked about, we only had a few VHSs when I was growing up. One was Beyond the Law with Charles Sheen. And I watched it a lot because it had a titty bar scene in it, but I didn't really understand the story because I was too little. It was Charlie Sheen infiltrates a biker gang, and we had Porky's, which I watched a lot because it had a shower scene in it that had a lot of bush in it, and I think that maybe inspired like my preferences later in life. And then we had a deer hunting VHS.
Which also had a lot of bush in it.
I had a lot of bush, but not the kind that I preferred. And then we had a Little Rascals I had actually two of them, two Little Rascals VHSs from the 1930s. The VHSs weren't from the 1930s, but I didn't have the sleeves for them. Naturally, you probably assumed that. I lived in a trailer. And the first thing you do as a trailer child is lose the sleeves to all your VHSs. So you don't have a case for any of them.
I think they just disappear.
They disappear, yeah. Or they get wet.
Once you touch them, it's like the hymen. It's like, where'd it go?
And I just recently I watched those all the time growing up, the Little Rascals episodes from the 30s. The black and white ones. And what I discovered on Amazon Prime is that they've taken hours of Little Rascals from the 30s and digitally enhanced them and colorized them. And it's like a whole new experience. And it takes me right back to my childhood, sitting in the floor of the living room, eating Doritos and drinking eating the off brand of Doritos and drinking Mountain Holler. And hearing that, and Little Rascals, Stymie and Porky and Alfalfa and Spanky and Froggy and just all Darla, just all those little motherfuckers just running around being shits, and just it really puts me in a happy place. And then I follow it up with a good Limp Bizkit song. And it's really the perfect cocktail of happiness.
That sounds peaceful and fun. I find psychologically I do that. I'll wrap myself in nostalgia TV or something. Like I'll get on it. This is weird, maybe, but not as weird because yours is pretty weird too. I'll watch Rawhide. I'll just watch episode after episode of Rawhide.
Rawhide?
Yeah, the country, like the old Western TV series.
Never even heard of it.
Clint Eastwood.
Rawhide.
American
TV series. Paul Branniger. Why did Clint Eastwood quit Rawhide? While he evolved from a hot-headed youngster to a more mature figure, Yates wasn't a character with great depth or nuance.
It's true. Clint Eastwood was just sort of the silent fixer on the show. Like, he could be trusted. So it's like, you go ramrod them new cattle out there. And he'd be like, but I have a philosophical question. And then it would go into his philosophical question plus somebody else's philosophical answer for 10 minutes. And then they'd move on to the next scene.
Well, that sounds riveting.
It was fun. Hey, speaking of throwback stuff, do you remember ever hearing about the Floby?
Floby.
Check it out. You should Google Floby. FLOW.
Oh, the cut hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get your hair cut with this thing?
No, it looks fucking useless.
Oh, no. Let me explain. It's terrifying. It
looks like a lawsuit in a box.
It really is. Because just imagine, that worm, the big giant sandworm in Star Wars. What was that sandworm called? You remember?
A googly guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Imagine that just bolted onto the end of whatever vacuum hose you can come up with. That becomes the hair cutting machine. So it's just
I've actually seen YouTube videos of people trying to use this, and it was absolutely useless.
So my grandpa bought one and swore by it. And anytime I was around and he saw that my hair got any bit long, he'd be like, hey, hair's getting over your ears. Come here. Let's check. We'll take care of that. I don't think he knew that there were different hair level thickness for the cutter. You could adjust. He just was use one, and it was we're going to cut your hair really short. Also, if your head is shaped any bit weird, we're also going to just take a little bit of the dermal layer from your skull cap.
Apparently, George Clooney swears by the Floby.
Yeah.
There's like 50 videos of him using the Floby.
It's crazy. It is crazy. But yeah, it's like if you look into it, if you just turn it on and look into it, it looks like a torture device.
It does.
From the movie
Saw.
Exactly. You wake
like
up.
What he uses for a barber that's been selling drugs to his clients.
Yeah.
Hello, Randy. Your whole life, you've been sucking in clientele with the promise of a haircut, but bringing them in with heroin. Today, you'll be doing the sucking.
Exactly.
It's not a sexual window, Randy. There's a Floby in front of you. Sorry how that sounded.
It's
attached to it is 2 chainsaws.
Yeah.
Inside your scalp, I've sewn a key.
That's how my upbringing was. I'd round a corner in their house and I'd hear, "Hello, Sam. Your hair's coming over your ears. Come here. We're going to fix that." Anyway.
I don't mean to jump back to the Little Rascals, but I had something I wanted to say about that show.
So you do mean to jump back to it?
I do mean to, yeah. And then we went right into the Floby.
Yeah. Sorry.
That show, and I didn't see it as a child, I didn't know, there is some jaw-dropping racism in it.
Yeah.
Which is surprising for a show from the 30s.
Not really.
I was little when I watched it, but there have been several times where I've been watching it throughout the week and Heaven will walk in and both of our jaws will just hit the ground when they say something that is so, how did this, even in the 30s, get approved to be on? First off, buckwheat, which is always was when I was little growing up, was one of my favorite characters. And Stymie, another one of the little black children, was one of the funniest. So he always wore the bowler hat.
Yeah.
But anytime they reference their parents, Stymie always says, my pappy's in jail again. So that's a running joke throughout the Little Rascals, is that Stymie's dad is always in jail. On multiple episodes, they lure the black children away with watermelon and chicken.
Wow.
Like, they have said shit where me and my wife look at each other and go, what the fuck? On one episode, they're rubbing a magic lamp, and Spanky is wishing for Buckwheat to be a monkey. And Porky, one of the kids, goes, all he needs is a tail.
Gosh. Well, I'm just going to supplement, not derail your conversation on it. But have you ever seen the Eddie Murphy SNL skit where he
plays Buckwheat?
Buckwheat sings.
Yeah.
They're like Betty
Even
Davis.
Buckwheat, the name Buckwheat, I looked it up because I never thought about it. I was like, Buckwheat has to mean something racist. There's no way it doesn't. And it turns out it's from the coal mining industry. The phrase is, and it has to do with coal. So black.
Oh, yeah. Man, I just get the chills thinking about the boldness, but we're still bold these days. I can go on a rant and a complaint.
I just feel like there's a sweet spot though, where we're not that bold, but we're at least more bold than we are today.
All I'll say.
And bold is an interesting word choice to choose for racist.
We're still ruining. Okay, hey, check this one out. I won't go into it, but look up the new Disney Snow White movie coming out. It's a live action one.
Yeah, it looks like just a joke. It looks like a parody, like an SNL parody.
Yeah, and then look up the interviews that have been caught on camera with the actress that's playing Snow White. She literally mocks the original. She's like, so she said this in not the same words, but she said, no, pretty close to the same words. She said, yeah, so the original story is about this girl who, like, she has to wake up because she gets kissed by a freaking guy who's been stalking her. I mean, that's the way she translated Snow White. What? So they got rid of the kiss. They got rid of that dude. Also, the whole little people world of real little people actors like Peter Dinklage, they're all like, screw
against
you, Disney. Yeah, because they used not small people.
Yeah, it looks like Snow White and 7 people from Portland. That's what it looks like. I've seen it. It looks like Snow White and 7 liberal arts majors.
It's true. I think they got rid of the music and they're just gonna do ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm f***ing this up.
I can't wait for this movie to bomb. And it's going to. It's going to bomb so hard.
Here's the thing too, like you listen to the actress that plays Snow White, and I can't quite figure out if this is a full head of steam opinion that she has on the whole thing and the whole storyline from before and everything, or if she was like informed and like educated this way. I can't quite tell if her opinions are her own, genuine, or if she's just parroting something else. But I think she also forgets that, like, she's making fun of everything that's going on with this one. But I believe she's a person of color, and she's playing Snow White. Snow White. And so it just seems kind of, it seems like she could really be leaning into that. I think it was an opportunity. She could be like, this is amazing. I think this is breaking boundaries, person of color playing the whitest person ever. And, she could be leaning like, saying, I think we're making, progress, but no, there's still a whole bunch of stuff to complain about.
This movie's going to bomb. And I'm here for it. I can't wait for it to bomb. I think the biggest problem with this stuff is not coming from the liberal side, but the conservative side. If conservatives would just stop being outraged about it and just shut the fuck up and ignore it.
Yeah.
This shit would stop happening.
Okay. I agree. I 100% agree because it's an itch that they can't seem to scratch. But I'm like, it's exactly that. You can't find this itch, people. Here's the other thing, though, Kent. Walk down this little tiny road with me. Pick any of the companies that, like, melted conservatives' faces this summer, and go into the board meeting for that company. You have to make money. These people throw so much money into focus groups and into...
This isn't about making money. This is about a social credit score.
Yeah, but still, how do they keep... I could never keep my job if I, as a marketing executive, pitched a campaign to a client that completely bombed because I was selling a message and feelings rather than the product, and it bombed, and it was a massive failure. I would be out of a job. I don't understand. Like, how do these companies keep their employees? Like, is there no one inside of these companies going, oh, that bombed, all 200 of you people that helped, that nobody put up the flag that this is good? I mean, because that's a truth right there. It's that it will bomb. And it's like there are so many fail safes and gateways that these kind of campaigns, these products, these movies, these beer cans, that they all pass through, that nobody is saying this is not going to make us some money. Like, I don't get that. I would be out of a job. I would be firing whole departments if I were the business head. Like, I don't understand. So help me understand that. Help me understand how. I get that, and
I'm trying to. It's not about money.
I know, but that's a real conservative drum to beat. They're all saying, "Oh, it's not about money. It's about," but it's got to be. You keep your job because you made the company.
Literally, I was reading a social credit score, a progressive credit score that companies. That's the reason they keep doing this shit. That's not like Budweiser or Bud Light with I don't remember the deal and whatever thing, but I'd have to go find the article. They're literally working on like a company progressive credit score where companies are given benefits to conveying progressive messaging.
So they're getting money in another way.
Yes.
Rather than, because if I'm a middle management just dude doing my job and I roll home and my wife's like, "Hey, honey, how was work today?" Well, we launched the campaign that my eyes have been bleeding about for the last couple of months. "Oh, really? How did it go?" "Totally failed. Lost billions of dollars."
Went great.
My wife would be like, "Oh, crap. Do we need to move? Do I need to stop buying milk?" That's the world I remember.
Chase just said in the comments, "Wonder what 1159's social credit rating is." Well, I'll say this: we couldn't get a loan in a crack house. But I do think there's a sweet spot between Snow White and the Seven Portland liberal arts majors and the Little Rascals from the 1930s. And I would say it's right around like 2012.
You think that was the break?
I think that was when we were at a spot where like we acknowledged our mistakes of the past. And I'm talking about just in film and shows and everything. Like, this is not saying that racism wasn't a thing in 2012. I'm just saying that in movies, we were given 2013, I would say between like 2012, 2014, maybe 2013, we were more people of color and you were seeing gay characters in movies and shows, but it wasn't like every character is now gay. You know, like we're doing Superman, only in this one he sucks cocks. He has the power of the deepest throat. And he's black.
Go back and watch Labyrinth. Go back and watch Labyrinth and tell me that show doesn't have a bunch of confusing gender characters. It does. You know, we've done
that's
this.
The funny thing too is like the people that grew up that were like teenagers right in like the 80s are like, what's the deal with all these like men dressing like women and like what the fuck are you? Look at David Bowie. You guys were like fucking to David Bowie. You guys hair bands.
They were all screaming
hair bands.
weird.
You couldn't tell if that was a female or a male, and you guys were loving it. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, every party they went to, they were screaming, "We're not gonna take it," as some blonde dude in lipstick screaming at them.
Yeah.
We repeat history, but we think, here's a fun thing, is we repeat history, but we think we're so original. Like I was talking to somebody about this the other day, if I walk down to the record exchange, which is still a CD store, like, right? You can buy like indie, it's still somehow surviving. But if I go down there, there is a guy. I don't even have to be, I know this. There's a guy wearing a white t-shirt, jeans that are cuffed, Doc Martens. And he's been, rolling in and out of that place for the last 6 years or so. Prior to that 6 years, there was another guy wearing white shirt, jeans cuffed, and Doc Martens. It was like they have shifts. And yeah. If I go downtown, there's a 17-year-old downtown wearing a tie-dyed Steppenwolf shirt, banging on a drum, and she feels totally original, but she's just picked up the shift for right now.
She's it's her lighthouse.
And then, you walk down the street and you'll pass two 20-something men in a full button-up and a tie with trench coats on, like going to work, and they think they're so original, but they never saw the 80s. It's amazing to me. So I think what it is rather than feeling original, I think humans just want to belong. And part of belonging is finding that lookbook that fits you, Yeah. Yours is a weird lookbook. Like, I don't know where you found your lookbook. Your lookbook didn't. I don't know if anybody else has the copy of your.
I've never give a fuck about fitting in.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Like in high school, I joke about being a nerd all the time, but the fact of the matter is, like, I didn't have a group. Yeah. Like, I had friends that were jocks, and I had friends that were nerds. I had friends in the chess club and friends on the football team, and friends that were cheerleaders, and friends that hissed at people when they came down the hallway.
Yeah, you had your wife who was a cheerleader and Brett Bundy all in the same hallway.
All in the same hallway, baby. I like people I never had like a clique.
Yeah.
Or sleep.
But wouldn't you, if you went back and did it, would you do it all differently, or would you do it just that way?
No.
Yeah. Because you got to bump into all of the people and, get all the diseases. It was
I take that back. If I could go back, I would be 100% myself a lot earlier than instead at 28 years old when I started being like, fuck it. I'm just going to like the things that I like openly. I'm going to stop watching I'm going to stop watching Sleepaway Camp 3 2 times back to back when I know nobody is going to interrupt me or find out what I'm watching. I'm going to watch it at 1:00 in the afternoon.
What's something that you would have changed? Oh, you know what? We need to get moving. We got to do 2 shows today.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Jess that texted last night, but it was you at like 10 p.m. I get a text and it says, "Hey, could we start really early tomorrow? I have a hair appointment."
Yeah, I do.
And I thought it was Jess, but it was you.
No, my hair is long as fuck. Look at this.
Whoa, that is long. You could craft that into some shapes.
So yeah,
I agree.
And my barber is 40 minutes away. So.
That's weird.
It's not weird. He's the best. And he's a friend from high school. Aaron Hughes, I love you, man.
Aaron Hughes, that's the one I use.
God, that's like a 12-hour drive for you, but that's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. Love that guy.
Going to Aaron for a haircut, it's an experience. You're not
remember
just
his
getting
sister?
No, he doesn't have a sister. That's wild.
Yeah, he does. I'm pretty sure he does. Huh. Jessica Hughes. Remember her?
Nope.
She's the one that got stung by a bee when she was drinking that soda and the bee was in the can.
Nope.
What'd you bring for us today?
Today up, I titled this it's very catchy, very funny title. I call this Old Food.
That's fun.
And today we're talking about food that is old.
Okay. Gripping.
Mainly I was curious, like, what's the oldest edible or non-edible foods we've ever found? And then a little bit into like, what about fast food? Like, what's the longest running fast food that we have and stuff like that. So I did a little diving and I found a few articles. Turns out the oldest edible food in the world, what do you think it is? It's not McDonald's French fries.
The oldest edible food if we're going, I'm going to say it's animals, meat. Some kind of meat.
I'm not talking about like food that's kind of
okay. So you're not talking about food.
You're being semantic. You're talking about like in general, like how long have we been eating animals? I'm talking about literally they made it and then it stayed there, and to this day it's still edible.
Okay, oldest prepared food.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with.
It's funny, your computer says app is not focused.
That's because when you're talking, I'm trying to keep this stupid ship afloat. I'm filling out an advertising opportunity form for Buy Optimizers. Do I know what it is? No. Am I applying for it to be a sponsor of the show? Heck yeah. Why? Because I'm scared for our future.
Are you really?
You asked. No, I wouldn't tell you if I was. You asked about food. Sometimes. I'm going to go with grain. I'm going to go with.
I'll give you a hint. It's 3,000 years old and still edible today.
Oh, that would be Roseanne's areolas. I just threw up in my.
I mean, I would give like at least $20 to see Roseanne's areolas.
I could probably pull up a picture. I could probably find it. I pride myself in my Google skills.
I'm surprised you didn't guess, honestly, because the oldest edible food, that's food that still you could eat today, is 3,000 years old, and I'm surprised you didn't guess it. It's actually honey.
Oh, well, yeah, it's its own preservative. It never goes bad.
Yeah, it was found in a tomb in ancient Egypt. And it hasn't spoiled to this day because of honey's antimicrobial properties.
Right. Okay, but wait. That sits in the... You don't make honey. That sits in the category of animal meat and plants.
No, it doesn't sit in the category because you can't eat meat that was 3,000 years old. This honey was harvested 3,000 years ago and is still edible today. This honey was found in a tomb in Egypt. It's the same honey that they harvested 3,000 years ago, and you can eat it. So no, it's not the same.
Okay,
it's not the same thing. Jess, you can be the argument. Is it the same or is it not the same? It's not the same. Thank you.
Okay, you go ahead and continue. I will stop interjecting my Mount Shasta moments, and I would
appreciate that very much.
You do you. I'll fill out a form.
Okay. Yeah, you pretend to listen.
How familiar are you with biooptimizers, by the way, on a scale of 1 to 6, 1 being least, 6 being most?
Probably a 9. I'm just as familiar with it as I am your all's bit rates right now, which I've been watching.
It gives me chills when you start talking tech, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to the world. It's either going to...
Well, I'm watching your jitter and packet loss as we're talking here. And you're bouncing it around an 8, and I need you to bring it down to like a 0.6.
That's funny because I dated this girl in high school who's super nerdy, and that was code for sex.
What's funny is Michael J. Fox also has a jitter rate. And it's a fucking 10, baby.
Wow. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. I did.
Look, because honey is high in sugar, low in water, and has just a little fucking lick of hydrogen peroxide, bacteria and other microbes cannot grow on it. So it's got a little bit of peroxide. It's very high in sugar, very low in water, which helps more than anything. And because of those, the harmful stuff cannot grow on it, leaving it edible forever. Well, maybe not forever, but really long. And things, if they have a moisture content above 18%, they will rot. Honey doesn't. So, yeah, that's the oldest edible food. So, like the food that we can eat today, that was found in a tomb in ancient Egypt. So that's fun.
That is fun.
Another old food, 5,000 years old. What do you think this is?
5,000 years old, and I'm going to go with honey again. I'm going to just say anything that existed was probably just honey.
Try bog butter.
Right. I have. 11th grade.
How much did you pay for that? It had to have been millions of dollars. You remember we did TCK on bog bodies?
Yeah.
Well, same thing. This comes out of primarily Ireland, the bogs of Ireland. They have found bog butter in jars that date back 5,000 years. And the first report of bog butter tastings go back to 1859 and was described as tasting like cheese.
I bet it did. That's what I recall.
Now, the reason that these jars of bog butter were put into the bogs 5,000 years ago, they believe was for a couple reasons. One was the low temperatures in the bog kept it nice and cool, so like a nature's refrigerator. And two, they were hiding it from other tribes raiding and trying to take their stuff. So hiding, and maybe like the old bog grandma put her bog butter in the bog and then died. And everybody's like, where did grandma put all that bog butter? And they didn't put the two words together. Oh, in the fucking bog. So grandma kind of died with her secrets, like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
Now, because the Irish bogs are anaerobic, the ancient barrels that were filled with this bog butter could be preserved because there's no oxygen. These bogs have no oxygen in them, so they don't rot. And like I said, some of this bog butter that has been found was eaten by the people who found it. Tastes like cheese, still edible today. 5,000 years this stuff has been laying in the bog. So that's fun. It's a lot of fun.
In 1 to 2 sentences, please explain why you think you'd make a fantastic ad read for Bioptimizers. Just when you have a second.
Me? I think that everybody should fuck everybody of all sexes.
I'll write that down. See if we get the ad. I will write that down.
Bioptimizers. And maybe I'm clueless as to what they're doing, what their company does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you're going Biopt. Okay, no, this is they're a supplement company.
Oh, okay.
And it looks actually really impressive. So hopefully we get it because you and I will be just chock full of bit rates, packet losses, and
fish
enzyme pills. Yep. Yum.
Hey, what do you think the oldest fast food is? Now, this is one of those times where we're not talking about a food that has been prepared, but like in general, like the oldest fast food. What food was it? Burgers, hot dogs, corn dogs, refried beans, maybe enchiladas, maybe Chef Boyardee or ramen, or maybe Oreos or Cheez-Its. Like, what's the oldest fast food?
The oldest fast food is Cheetah.
Okay, I liked that.
Thanks.
You're wrong.
Ah.
But I like where you went with that. That was funny. And I said the oldest fast food. I didn't say the fastest old food.
Okay. I don't know. I did they have nuggets back then?
The oldest fast food goes back 10,000 years and originated in Mesoamerica. And the oldest fast food, tamales.
Oh.
Yeah, tamales were made for on-the-go food for warriors 10,000 years ago. The Olmecs and Toltecs, they used tamales because they were easy to pack and carry, and they went worldwide.
There's a girl. She's probably 15. Comes by the house once a week, knocks on the door, knocks on all of our neighbors' doors. Her parents are out in the truck. She knocks on the door and she says, "Would you like any tamales or flautas today?" And most of the time I say yes, and I buy them from her.
Are they good?
And she runs out to the truck and gets what I'll say, "Yes, I'll take 4 tamales and 2 flautas." And she'll run out to the truck and get them and come back, and she'll be like, "That's $12.50." Then I give her the money and she goes away. And it feels like something out of Napoleon Dynamite. But it's really fun. Very delicious.
Yeah.
Not really. No, it's just a little, one of those little pups. Remember the pup truck? The little tiny ones?
A pup truck.
Kind of look like a B1000 or B2000. Just a little guy. She jumps in the back of it and they just tool through the neighborhood and she sells. Anyway, those are modern tamales, not ancient ones.
Yeah, tamales, the oldest fast food, goes back 10,000 years because they were just easy to throw in the soldiers' packs and carry with them. They were a very common portable food for armies. And back then they were used still, even to this day, we use corn husks. I don't know if back then they also used banana leaves. Is that a thing we use today for tamales?
No. Well, the ones that I get are corn husks or corn leaves, husks, leaves. I don't know what the outside of corn.
Yeah. Well, even 10,000 years ago, they used corn husks, but they also used banana leaves. And just like today, they were wrapped around mesa dough stuffed with meats and beans and fruits and various fillers. It was just a high, energy food because you could just stuff it full of whatever beans and meat, protein and carbs and sugars and everything in it. That it was like the soldiers. What's that food that they use that they put to prisoners in solitary confinement? They call it loaf, something magic loaf or something that's got all their nutritional needs, but it is not tasty.
Oh yeah, like pemmican kind of thing. Pemmican loaf.
It was like tamales back then, but they were tasty. It was like pemmican. It's like got everything you need, but it was also delicious. And also they kind of had, even 10,000 years ago, they came with a wrapper. The corn husk. So they could be passed out, handled, thrown in a pack. You unwrap it because it's in a corn husk or banana leaves. And yeah, that's technically the oldest fast food, tamales.
Wow.
All right. I can tell you're not enjoying this. I've only got 2 more.
I am. I really am. I love food talk. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're like Jim Gaffigan.
Creates a whole comedic career off of food.
Here, I'll just do one more. And this one is going to be good for me and Jess. Out of all of them, this is the one that I'm most excited because it's in a white powdery form. I'm just kidding, Jess. Don't get excited. Her eyes are huge.
She's drooling. Pavlovian effect right there. Weird.
No, shipwrecked champagne. In 2010, a few divers found 168 bottles of champagne amongst a wreck at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. And that champagne was 170 years old, which makes it the oldest drinkable champagne in the world.
Yum.
It was preserved in a near perfect state. So even then, even though it was 170 years old, it was still able to be tasted and drank. And yeah, the people that tasted it said that it was very sweet and that there was 140 grams of sugar per liter, which if you compare that to modern champagne, at between 6 and 8 grams per liter. So the champagne from 170 years ago, 140 grams of sugar per liter. Modern champagne, 6 to 8 grams of sugar per liter.
Wow. So does a cork hold that long, or were these sealed in another way?
I guess it depends on who sealed it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I saw pictures of the champagne and you couldn't really make out. The pictures I saw were divers at the bottom holding it up and still in the water, and the top was just like moldy looking and black, so you couldn't really make out how it was sealed.
Huh.
Maybe it had cork with wax on it.
That's what I was thinking. There's some tar or wax or something that's.
But I would love to try this. But God knows how expensive that just a drink of that is.
So does champagne age like wine, like a vintage year?
I would assume so, because it's got alcohol in it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Oh, I guess so. Yeah, I've seen movies where people are like, I've been saving this champagne for a long time. And then they drink it after burying the body or whatever they did to celebrate.
And what I want to do to close out my story, and I'm doing this on the fly, so let me find the name of this YouTube channel, but I just thought of it. There's a guy on YouTube, and I'm finding his channel now, called Steve 1989 MRE Info. That is absolutely fascinating. And this entire channel is dedicated to this dude that just eats really old MREs. Like old MREs. We're talking, in some cases, almost 100 years old. And he actually eats them.
Can't be good for you.
Fascinating seeing, like here's his channel. Just seeing him, and not all of them are old. Like there's one from 2004. But like if you go back, I mean, there's 1957 3-man MRE, 1945 US K ration breakfast MRE, and he actually eats them. So you get to see him
Gross.
open them and talk about them. And this guy is his entire life revolves around MREs. And that's another thing I love, is finding people that are passionate about like random odd things. There's another YouTuber that I love called Post 11, who is just passionate, or Post 10, I'm sorry, who is just passionate about unclogging weather drains.
Oh, that's fun. I think I've seen him and just out in the street, and he's just feverishly digging and pulling, and then
oh yeah, his cock just gets so rock hard when he sees leaves have stopped up a drain in the road, and he just carries a rake and a shovel with him everywhere he goes, and that's all his videos, just unclogging drains.
And he'll draw a crowd as he's doing it. That was the interesting thing. People are like, "Hey, what's going on over there?" And 7 people will be watching him.
Look,
it's pretty cool.
Just loves it. There's Post 10 unclogging and surrounding area updates. So not only does he gives updates on his area about the drains in his area.
Here's a question. He's got one right there says beaver trap, our last unclogging. I'm going to go ahead and say that a beaver dam is intentionally clogging something.
Yes.
So,
this guy though has waged a war on beavers.
See, I'm not quite sure that might be ill-advised. That's sort of like saying starting a YouTube channel called These Damn Beehives.
Look, I'm just saying.
I mean,
that beavers have nightmares about Post 10.
I'll bet they do.
Post 10 is such an enemy of beavers that beavers being born today are born with an evolutionary, are afraid of Post 10 as babies. It's in their DNA. And this is a great segue because, and the reason I bring up Post 10 and his love of unclogging drains is because Post 10 has another channel that I'm trying to find right now that I can't, where he eats old MREs. So, but yeah, Steve 1989 MRE info. That's the one to go to for watching that. And that's all I've got.
I've been really into watching Rolex restoration videos. They're crazy if you get into them.
I didn't. Jay Morris in the comment section, apparently he loves Post 10. He said he's got a video where Post 10 traveled across the United States to unclog culverts.
Just a mission to clear every culvert in the nation.
He says he's also got a video where he gets attacked by the beavers.
Also, depending on how long the culvert's been clogged, he might be creating quite a surprise for whatever's downstream.
Yes. Or Pennywise.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
You'll all... Post 10 single-handedly destroys a Stephen King mythological creature with a rake.
Doesn't he? Hey, the guy that eats the MREs, does he ever like gag when he's doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
He's also well versed in history, war history. He's just passionate about war history and MREs. Like the guy knows more about MREs than Neil deGrasse Tyson knows about space.
Wow.
It's just such an odd thing to have to be passionate about. And I love that. I love coming across people like that have this thing that like seems to consume their lives that's so random. I love people like that.
Well, it's hard to I really applaud them when it becomes something where they're able to
monetize it.
Or spend all their time doing that thing. The Craftsman reminds me of that.
I love the Craftsman so much.
Man, he's just got a little tiny shed back in the woods behind his, and he's turned it into something. And I think you go back to when that guy started, and he's like, I'm going to wear black gloves. I'm going to have this like ASMR, like weird voice.
Greatest voice.
And this might not work. But it did, he pulled it off. Kind of like this show. Anyway. I thought I would circle back and supplement and bring up more, regurgitate more things from history, plagues, mass deaths that we haven't covered before, and whether or not they were ever solved.
Okay.
So I'll hit on some I know that we've talked about. Like we talked about the dancing plague, didn't we? 1518.
Yes.
We talked about that, right? France. So that one, we'll just kind of breeze over that one because the cause actually still kind of remains unclear. There's kind of 50-50 sides, right? You've got the mass hysteria side that's like, oh, everybody was just doing it because everybody was doing it. And they also think it could have been ergot poisoning, though, too. So you go figure. It reminds me of the Beatles concerts where one girl faints in the front row, and then before you know it, every girl's fainting in the front row.
Yeah.
Or the TikTok Twitch. Know about this?
The TikTok Twitch.
Yeah, like a couple girls, have legit tics. Like,
oh, you're talking about the girls that are faking having Tourette's syndrome?
Tics. Yeah, Tourette's. Yeah, so it's a TikTok Tourette's. This one's interesting. I can't remember if we covered this one, so I added it. The Philadelphia yellow fever epidemic, which surprisingly didn't happen it did. It happened in Philadelphia in 1793. Killed around 5,000 people. And who it didn't kill, it caused them to evacuate the city. This one was one of those good old mosquito transmitters. But they didn't know it at the time. So everybody's running for the hills where there are some more mosquitoes. Interesting on the list that I have here. Guess what they say is a mass death, and answered the question if it was actually solved. Jonestown mass suicide, 1978.
Yeah,
I'd say we kind of know.
I've heard about that one.
Why this one happened.
Just imagine, I know they didn't drink Kool-Aid, but like the Kool-Aid man busting through the wall of that compound at like the end. Oh, yeah.
He's like,
oh, no. Everybody's bloated. Flies everywhere. Oh, fuck. He gets
all right.
Flies,
here's one for you.
Flies slushing around in his Kool-Aid above his head there.
He's sitting really still. He's like panicked, but he slowly backs out of the hole he made in the wall.
10
totally
years
silent.
later, he's laying on a couch talking to a psychiatrist. It was so fucked up.
So can you tell us, why did you just start knocking on doors and entering through the doors? Well,
you haven't seen what I saw.
Jonestown, Guyana, 1978. Here's an interesting one. Have you ever heard of the Love Canal disaster?
No.
Not to be confused with the porn show. If there isn't somebody that has made a porn movie named Love Canal Disaster, then what are we doing?
I've seen a few of those videos on eFucked.
This happened in Niagara Falls.
Hold on, we can't just skim over that. If you haven't been to I mean, this is not a family-friendly website. So do not visit the website around your children, but there's a website called eFucked, EFUKT.com.
Do we have to promote it?
And
Jeez.
It is like porn bloopers and just the most fucked up things on the internet in one place, and it is hilarious.
Great.
You act like we shouldn't. You watch eFucked more than I do.
I feel like we like just read it. We're like, now we're going to read a couple pages from Mein Kampf.
Yeah. I should clarify. It's not a website meant for masturbation, like X Hamster or X Videos or xnxx.com or Pornhub or, any of that stuff. This is a website specifically for laughs. It's supposed to be funny, and it's just porn bloopers and really fucked up stuff. And it's really funny if you've got a dark sense of humor.
The comment section's going to be really bad. Niagara Falls, New York, in the U.S. Here's a backstory on this one. The Love Canal disaster. It was a neighborhood that was built on a toxic waste dump that led to mass health issues, including a ton of birth defects and cancer. So it was on a toxic waste dump. This sounds like the beginning to a horror movie.
What was built on this toxic waste dump?
A whole town. Niagara Falls, Love Canal disaster. There's a whole neighborhood called Love Canal. Don't ask. I don't know what goes on there. But they did finally realize that the whole town was built over top of the toxic waste dump, and so they discovered it, and then it led to a bunch of legal changes in environmental law, so that's good. I've covered this one before. I can't remember if I did it on this show or not, but another thing that's killed a ton of people is the AIDS epidemic. Started appearing in the 80s, led to a global health crisis. But fun fact to know and share, I think I mentioned it on this show. No, it might have been on the Hugs podcast, actually.
And there's a big correlation between the Love Canal and AIDS.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just south of, I think that neighborhood, the AIDS neighborhood, is just south of the Love Canal.
I thought the Love Canal, based on what I know of Mormon culture, I thought the Love Canal was a word that people not married use for the anus.
No.
I thought that's what Mormons call
no.
It's like a loophole.
But if you go back and listen to the Hugs podcast, on one episode, I cover this scientist who he was a botanist, and he was a sociobotanist or something like that. Basically, this dude's rolling around in nature trying to find how old civilizations cured diseases and illnesses and everything. So he goes around like sucking sap out of trees and cutting samples off of trees and pulling plants out of the ground and sending them back to the labs. Well, he did this and his job was to go out and collect all the samples and send them back to the lab. So he's way out in the middle of nowhere. He's sent back to the lab. he finishes his job, flies back home, and lands in his home to get a message from the lab saying, "You've got to go back out and find more of this sap sample, this tree sample."
Oh yeah, we've talked about this.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he could never find it again. He searched what he thought was the same tree thicket or whatever.
Yeah.
Tried to find the same tree. Hundreds and hundreds of samples, multiple trips out there. Finally went out one time and the whole forest, that area was clear cut by the natives of the indigenous people of the land because they used it for firewood. And so come to find out that 10 years prior to the AIDS epidemic, he had cured AIDS.
When was the first?
And we lost it.
When
That's
was the
crazy.
first AIDS case?
Yeah. Also, that's a weird one because you'll find
81?
No. If you well, that's what they say, but keep digging. You'll find the case of a young boy in the 70s who died from the same symptoms and everything as the AIDS virus.
Oh, okay. The
in
earliest
the 70s.
case of HIV is 1959 from who died in Kinshasa in the Belgian Congo.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a kludgy sort of dating on it.
So like in the 1940s, you could just go around fucking without condoms and never have to worry about AIDS.
Well, but you had to worry about all the other things, non-gonococcal urethritis, and
you didn't have to worry about AIDS.
Had to worry about kids.
When was the first case of herpes?
While you're looking that up.
Oh, well, 1.4 million years ago.
Yeah, it's been around for a little while. That's fun. Also, fun fact to know and share: viruses, they don't ever go away. I mean, you can kind of spin it and say we're going to crush this, but once it's here to stay. And here's a good example of that. Have you ever heard of Legionnaire's disease?
No.
So the Legionnaire's disease outbreak happened in Philadelphia. Odd that a bunch of these happened in Philadelphia back in 76. There's an outbreak during an American Legion convention, actually, and it killed 29 people and sickened hundreds that were in attendance there. So a little later on, the bacteria was identified and the source was actually traced to the hotel's air conditioning system. So it had just been pumping out this deadly disease and killed a ton of people. Fun fact to know and share, after we discovered Legionnaire's disease, we came up with ways to quell its spread and pretty much crushed it. And when I say crushed it, it's a social management program from thenceforward to when it pops up, you crush it quick, you cure it quick, you isolate that person. Because every virus that's come into being is still around, or it's just it's entrapped. Basically, that's what you hear about, like these virus labs. They've got ancient viruses trapped in, cold storage. So they don't. You can't get rid of them, but you can control their spread. Here's what's weird about Legionnaire's disease is, not too long ago, I want to say it was early 2000s. The Playboy Mansion was shut down because they found traces of Legionnaire's disease in the grotto, which is like the swimming hole at the Playboy Mansion. They found Legionnaire's disease.
So it seems to like really thrive in like moist areas.
Yeah.
In old moist areas.
Yeah. So they found a ton of Legionnaire's disease in Roseanne Barr. Sverdlovsk anthrax leak, Soviet Union. release of anthrax spores from a biological weapons facility killed at least 64 people. Kind of a oops there. I'll give you one more. Let's see. Let's go with ooh, this one's fun. Minamata disease, which sounds like a cute disease. Like it sounds like you want that card. You want
almost as cute as like Hashimoto's.
Yeah, Hashimoto's
disease,
which is not cute if you've got it. Because I have Hashimoto's disease. I make sure my wife uses the word disease whenever she mentions it.
Do you use that when she asks you to do something? I have a disease.
How dare you ask me to not nap right now?
It makes me tired.
Minamata disease, 1950s, 1960s, thereabouts, in a town in Japan called Minamata. Industrial wastewater that contained methyl mercury caused severe mercury poisoning, leading to mass death and disease in the whole area. Also, this is where the Silver Surfer was originated. It was caused because a bunch of governmental issues stymied the wastewater production process, and bureaucracy again. So this has been Neverdaily Podcast. I've been your host. If you're interested in becoming the host of any 1159 show where the operator is currently a host, send a message to Jess.
Please direct all messages, personal messages, DMs to Jessica
at 1159media.com. You may get the chance to replace the operator on every show. Plus, win a 6-pack of your favorite soda. Enter now. Contest ends August 20th, 2023.
We are also doing a separate contest. It's a dick pic rating contest. And all of those images need to be directed to the operator at 1159media.com.
Oh, send them. Don't send those at all. Anyway, that's all I got. This has been kind of a mess.
Camp Swenson.
Love you. Hugs, everybody.
Bye!